Welcome to another episode of Maintenance Untangled, where we untangle the complexities of maintenance.
Hi guys, welcome back to another episode of Maintenance Untangled, where we try and untangle the complexities of maintenance and life in general, and try and make sure that we're keeping the balance in life. As always, welcome to my co-host Derick. How are we going today, mate? You've sort of recovered after last week's shot?
Yes, Ricky, thank you. I had some sleep for a change. No, all good. Thanks, it's good to be back. Untangling maintenance again, and welcome back to you as well, Ricky. We have a special guest, Ricky.
So this is a really cool episode for multiple reasons, Derick. So first of all, it's our first international guest, as in they currently don't live in Australia. So that's really cool. The second of all, this is kind of a really awesome podcast for me in the sense that I get to actually speak to two of probably the best mentors that I've ever had. So I'd like to welcome my old manager, Declan, to the podcast. How are we, Declan?
Very well, Ricky. Nice to see you today, and yourself too, Derick. Nice to meet you. Thanks for having me on, Ricky, and guys. And Ricky, if I'm one of the best mentors you've had, you got to keep looking, mate. Joking aside.
Says a lot about me, doesn't it?
Yeah, it's good to be here. I appreciate the invite and look forward to having a chat with you guys over the next wee while.
So, Declan, for those who obviously don't know you, give us a bit of a brief contact. I'm picking up a bit of an Irish accent there.
Yeah, I'm Irish, born and bred. Lived there for the first 30-something years of my life, and have been a resident in New Zealand for the last 14 years. So I'm a dual citizen, carrying both passports. I guess at my core, I'll always be Irish. That's my place of origin, where my family of origin reside, but my family are in New Zealand here. My partner Joy, son Hugo. That's kind of where I'm from, where I am. I guess in terms of career background, I'm 25 years IT professional, 26 years as an IT professional, pretty much management all the way, with some on the tools work for the first sort of 10 to 15 years. And these days my role is head of ICT for Pioneer brand feeds in Australia and New Zealand. So I run the ICT team and the services that we provide out to the business. Ricky, you were a former team member and still doing a bit of work for us on the side, so you know a bit more about who I am and what I do than what I've just described, but hopefully that was enough.
Yeah, hopefully I'm still not dead to you yet.
No, you'll never be dead to me.
So I do have a very, very good question for you, Declan. Who do you support, Irish or All Blacks?
All the way Ireland, all day long. Yeah, I can unequivocally answer. Yeah, good on you, mate. Yeah. The All Blacks.
Sorry, I had to bring it in.
Yeah. The All Blacks. It's interesting living in New Zealand and not getting caught up in the emotion of the All Blacks. The kind of juggernaut that they are. It's a passionate thing down here, rugby, or people are very passionate about it. Likewise in Ireland nowadays, and in South Africa too, Derick, I'm sure.
Yep.
But the Irish team were there or thereabouts, weren't we? But you guys did us over in the last World Cup, and then so too did the All Blacks. Yeah.
Yep.
As an Aussie, I'll just say out of that conversation.
Yeah.
As an Aussie, I'll just say out of that conversation, all right?
Yeah.
It's not quite the same passion, I have to admit. I've been to New Zealand, and the Kiwis share the same passion as the South Africans. not so much Australia. So it's interesting living in South Australia where there's very not as much rugby union enthusiasts. So,
Yeah. Yeah.
all right. So Declan, we always talk about safety, and safety in our industry is paramount. I think safety is no longer something that it's nice to have. I think it's a currency to operate. And it doesn't matter in which industry you are. Safety is always important, and yeah, we just wanted to. Was wondering if you got any specific safety topic you would like to have a brief chat about, and something that you're passionate about and why.
Sure. So I'm not a maintenance guy, right? That's not my background at all. I'm an IT guy. But something that is, I suppose, in my wheelhouse in the safety domain is uh, cybersecurity and online safety. I think about cyber as health and safety and wellness for your online life. And it would be my strongly held belief that in a business context, giving due attention to cybersecurity is very, very important thing, and that effort and attention and investment and all of the above should be given to keeping systems, data, but more than anything, people safe. Yeah. And then when I think about it in a non-business context, I think of cyber in the context of protecting people who are vulnerable. Okay. So to me, that's young people and the elderly, both of whom would fall in the vulnerable high risk category for, cyber criminals, and also, when it comes to kids, especially, protecting them from, I guess, the addictive and harmful nature of the internet and the services that are out there on the internet. So it just so happens that today, the day that we're recording this, is the day that Meta or Facebook and YouTube have been found guilty of negligence in terms of causing harm to kids with the addictive nature of the algorithms behind Facebook and YouTube. So the first guilty verdict has been laid down against them in a Californian court today. I think it was in LA. It's expected, I think, that a lot more will come out of that. But social media, especially for kids, it's well documented that it is very harmful due to that addictiveness. So as a parent, I strongly advocate for protecting kids against the harmful nature of social media and all the threats that it poses, both to brain development and cognitive development, etc., emotional well-being of kids, and then also all the real sinister predatory stuff that can happen on any of these platforms, and does happen in many cases. So, yeah, something I'm quite passionate about in regards to my own child. And then when I think about the elderly, I think about my parents and how vulnerable they are. They're both in their late 70s. They both are active online, and they both have a hard time distinguishing, real stuff from scam stuff from really dodgy stuff. So, supporting those groups of people, I think, is extremely important for their well-being. And there's lots of tools out there. I think in Australia, you've got the Australian Cybersecurity Centre. There are lots of guidelines all on there around protecting your kids and protecting people in general and old people with various resources and techniques. So, yeah.
Yeah, that's
It's
cool, Declan. We might actually hold the business on, and maybe if you're interested, come back to a later podcast. But I suppose let's continue down this little road. Do you know of any resources whereabouts or anything that really jumps to mind whereabouts people can sort of maybe get themselves a little bit trained up or maybe a little bit more aware of any of these kind of things?
Yep, there is. I guess in Australia, I guide people to the Australian Cybersecurity Centre. There is lots of information on there around the basics of cyber hygiene for your online affairs. So that's, stock standard things like using two-factor, verifying all of your accounts online, um, strong passwords, which is the very basics, protection of your own personal data, giving away the least amount of data possible when you're signing up to any of these services. Of course, you always have to give some away, but and then when it comes to social media, there's guidelines, I think, on that website I've just mentioned around what to post and what not to post. It's very easy for people, and it doesn't even need to be people who are doing this now with AI doing it for them, but to get a window into your life if you're continually posting on social media about where you are, what you're doing, what your kids are doing, that you're gone on holiday and your house is empty, all of these types of things. So there's some common sense, I think, in play as well. But yeah, the guidelines are all there on I think it's AS, Australian Cybersecurity Centre, acsc.com.au.
Sorry, I'll make sure there's some links so where people can go to those sort of resources, which would be beneficial.
Yeah. I think so. On the topic of social media and kids, so I've got 3 teenage boys. Held them away from social media until my eldest turned 17. When he got into his P's, it's when we allowed him to get social media. There's a book called The Anxious Generation. Don't know if you've read that before. I'll encourage every parent to read it and think carefully before you put your kids on social media. That's just something I'm personally very passionate about as well, amongst other things. But
yeah, fantastic. There are 2 people that I follow, or among others, that stand out for me. Jonathan Haidt, who's the writer of that, or the author of The Anxious Generation, is one. He's fantastic. Tristan Harris is another. He was I can't remember what exactly he did at Facebook, but he was a designer of the system behind Facebook in some capacity, and he left Meta or Facebook when he realized how I guess the whole thing had been designed to keep kids and adults addicted to the platform, and harvest their attention, basically. And he founded a organization called, what was it? The Center for Humane Technology. So they're all about protecting people from the harms of technology and lobbying the industry to go down a more human-centric path. So, yeah, I would encourage people to follow Tristan Harris and Jonathan Haidt.
I'll put links within so that way people can also jump onto them.
Yep.
Thanks for that, Declan. Always really cool. You're very passionate about, obviously, cybersecurity, which is, I've learned a lot, and obviously I've carried those as well through. But shifting gears into probably more your specialty, talk about ICT and how that is, how over your journey that's become more and more important for businesses, and talk us through how you've seen the involvement of the ICT in businesses nowadays.
Sure. Well, I guess I was lucky in the sense that when I graduated from university in 1999, the internet was a thing, right? But it was an emerging technology, I guess, or an emerging entity in the world, and the adoption of information technology in business was well underway by then. However, the reach of it within organizations was still quite low. So that's 25, 26 years ago. Fast forward to the day when, you'd be hard pressed to find a business that doesn't have significant digital footprint in its operations, right? So that's sort of the capture, storing, and dissemination of information, whether it's emails, relational databases, CRM systems, enterprise resource planning systems, all the kind of glue that holds organizations together nowadays. So there's been that sort of snowball effect over the time that I've been involved in ICT. And again, that's only accelerated in the last few years with the emergence of AI, which just takes it to a whole other level in terms of capacity to generate and understand information. So businesses, whether they like it or not, need to invest in digitizing processes well so that they can operate effectively in the modern economy, right? So those who do not risk getting left behind or getting flagged as difficult to do business with or inefficient, or in some cases, the worst ones, messy and really difficult to work for or work with. So it would be my strongly held belief that proper investment is needed. And when you do invest well, and you stand up teams of people to go off and get this stuff done and done well, it makes a huge difference to the effectiveness of an organization, and you get significantly high return on investment, right? So lots of research out there that shows that if you invest $1 in good ICT services over a 3 to 5 year period, you get between $5 and $10 back for your investment, right? So the maths is pretty easy, but doing it well is not easy. That's the hard part. So that takes a lot of thought and a lot of iterative, sort of monthly, weekly, daily continuous improvement, because this stuff doesn't get built in a day, right? So the technology tends to be easy to implement. People tend to be hard to take on the journey. So it's multifaceted. Yeah.
I think it's.
And I suppose you go, Derick.
Sorry, I think it's very valid. Declan, you were wondering whether, as an ICT guy, you contribute to the maintenance podcast. I think it's very valid even in the maintenance space, because both myself and Ricky have been involved in a few projects where you go and you look at at maintenance data and the way maintenance data has been implemented, and you just go, why have you done this? And that's just basic fundamental architecture behind your maintenance system. And you just go, there was no forethought of the long-term effect or the long-term process, or, how it affects not just the small portion, but how it actually affects stores and IT and that's why it's so important to put thought in upfront, because paying for it afterwards generally becomes a lot more expensive.
Yeah, for sure.
So when you said before, Declan, about what is, making sure things are good, what are those sort of examples of what good actually looks like coming from ICT, from your experience?
I think there are a few simple principles, and they're not really technical. Yes, there are technical principles around systems architecture and design, and data architecture and design, and cybersecurity, and all of the above. But when it comes to implementing systems to support processes, people keep what they like. So what people like is something that works for them. And that's what's good. Something that works for the people that you're giving the systems and services to. And it doesn't matter if it's, a set of reporting or a CRM tool or a chatbot that you've built for them or whatever. If it's serving their need, they will like it. If it's making their job easier, if it's making them more effective in their role, they will like it, and they will keep it, and they will they will want you to give them more. If you give them something that meets your needs, not theirs, it's pretty predictable what's going to happen, right? They're not going to like it. You might like it, they won't. And you'll have this resistance to it, and you'll have, maybe expensive failure and have to do it again. So the principle really is giving people, because that's ultimately what you're doing, right? You're giving people a service, or you're providing a service to people, and it's got to be easy for them. And when it's easy for them, they will like it.
Have you got anything, Derick? Or?
No, I've got lots of thoughts, but not something I'm going to air.
I can only imagine.
Because I think I'll Declan, I 100% agree with you, and I think that's probably where even in the maintenance field, where a lot of people completely miss the plot. It's about making people's lives easier, and sometimes I've made this mistake where I'm trying to teach people, this is the best way to do it, and without considering how does it actually impact their role. Where with the grey hair that came over the last couple of years, I've learned, the approach is explain to people why is it better for them, because then you start with a belief and they start believing, and then you take them on the journey, which is it's very, very valid.
Yeah.
And I've also suffered some serious work within systems that were just so frustrating, and you just don't know why it's been implemented.
Yeah, I've been on both sides of that equation. I've been the giver and the receiver, and you learn lessons, right, on both ends. That's the value. But yeah, like providing services to hundreds or thousands of users in a business is all about creating value, right? So, value is created in many ways through systems. It's time saved, dollars gained, uh, more integrated teams because everybody's on the same sheet. Uh, you know, single sources of truth, so people aren't having to patch things together from multiple sources. All these kinds of things create value, and as I say, you have a hell of a lot better chance of creating value if you're giving people things they like. So when I see, and I still see it in my team, and I probably am guilty of it myself, but when I see things and I think people aren't going to like that, it's like, that's not going out, guys. Sorry. Stop. Do it again.
I may or may not have been on the receiving end of a few of those.
Yeah. I might have said it a bit more subtly than that, but you know what I mean, Ricky, right?
100%.
Yeah.
No, that's awesome. So, that's all the time we have for this podcast, Declan. Appreciate your time. I think it's amazing insights, and when I worked under you, we'd obviously have quite a bit of a chat, but also learned a lot off you. So it's kind of really cool to sort of really connect at this sort of level and still learn a lot from you as well. So appreciate your time for this. But yeah, I suppose question to yourself, Declan, would you be interested in coming back? Because I think your skills as a people manager was one thing that I very much cherished, and learnt probably more about that than I did working within IT systems. So if you're happy to jump back on at a later date, we'll get you to talk about that.
Yeah, keen to do that. We'd like to.
Sounds
Bring
good.
it on.
See it. So, Derick, that obviously wraps up today's episode. Any closing statements from yourself?
No, thank you. Thanks a lot, Declan. Appreciate your time. Good to meet you. Good luck with the international window coming up for Ireland.
Thank you.
And I've actually been watching them in the Six Nations, following that.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Enjoy watching.
Yeah, it was a good tournament this year.
It was, definitely was. But yeah, so thank you for your time. Appreciate it. To all our listeners, thank you. And we won't have any podcast released next Friday. Next Friday is Easter Friday. Please enjoy the time you have with your family and friends. If you do travel, please travel safely, and yeah, we'll catch up shortly after that.